Welcome to Unlocking Your Truth, another podcast by Dr. Lesley Phillips.
Hello everybody and welcome to Unlocking Your Truth with Dr. Lesley. My name is Dr. Lesley Phillips and I will be your host for the next hour. So, without further ado, today's topic is a bit of a strange one. I love introducing you to all of these different intuitive abilities, and we've covered a few on the show since it began because I have a passion about telling people about this. There's lots of misconceptions about what it is to be intuitive or psychic or a medium. And people often confuse those things. And people also don't realize how wide the scope of intuitive abilities is. So I like to compare it to your physical senses. You have 5 physical senses. There are over 25 intuitive senses. So there's a much broader range of intuitive senses than there are physical senses. And the intuitive senses allow you to tune into frequencies beyond the bounds of your normal physical senses. Now, some of these intuitive senses, everybody has them. There was a show a few weeks ago. If you go back in the archives in the podcast, you can find it, and it was on clairsentience or intuitive feeling, being an empath. Well, everybody has that ability. Everybody has the ability to intuitively tune into emotional signals. But tonight's topic is something that not everybody seems to experience, as far as my experience tells me, reading thousands of people over the years. And this one is called, there's several different names for it. One of them is Clairalience. Another one is Clairolfaction. Or to translate that into English, clear smelling. So it's being able to receive intuitive information through the sense of smell. So it's not your physical sense of smell. It's more like you're imagining a smell that isn't there, except you're not really imagining it. So sometimes I like to have a little quiz to read out. I'm going to give you a few different signs that might indicate that you have experienced this. Here's a few questions for you. Have you ever been overwhelmed by a fragrance that nobody else could smell? So it's almost like you're imagining it, yet it's so strong and it really bothers you and you can't believe anyone else can't smell it. Now, are there certain smells that remind you of specific people? And it could be people that are still alive. It could be people who have passed over. And do you ever smell a smell that reminds you of somebody that passed over, and yet there's nothing around you that's causing the smell? So a common example might be, your grandmother used to put lavender in all of her drawers to keep the clothes smelling nice, and so when you smell lavender, it's a sign that your grandmother is around you or wanting to communicate with you. Or your grandfather used to smoke cigars and you smell cigars, and it's exactly the brand of cigar that he used to smoke, and yet there's nobody smoking around you. Well, that could be a sign that these people are having a go at communicating with you, wanting to say hello to you from spirit. Can you tell when somebody is ill or even about to pass over because they just don't smell right? Maybe they even smell like death, or they smell like cancer, or they smell like some other illness. Some intuitive people are able to do that. Some healers, in fact, are able to diagnose illness by their intuitive sense of smell. Now here's maybe a more common experience. Does the smell of home cooking transport you back to times in your childhood or your youth? So it's kind of like a smell memory, but you're re-experiencing a smell that isn't there. Or here's a few other ones. What kind of language do you use? If you're in some kind of a sticky situation and you have a tendency to say, well, I just don't like the smell of that, or that smells fishy to me, or if a friend is being stubborn, do you say, well, come on, wake up and smell the roses? Or when you're good at something, you say, well, I have a nose for that sort of thing. And then finally, are you able to smell when someone is short of an essential nutrient? Or when something isn't healthy or good for you to eat? So healers, they can smell what somebody is short of, or what somebody has too much of, or what isn't good for somebody, or what would be good for somebody to make them more healthy. You know, whether they're a herbalist or an aromatherapist. So there you have it. If you recognized what I was talking about, then you may very well have experienced what people call Clairolfaction. Why on earth would you want to develop this? So it's a way of connecting with people that you care about who no longer have a physical body. There's even lots of stories about people having spiritual experiences through the sense of smell. So, and it's actually common in Catholicism, people who revere the Virgin Mary. If you Google the Virgin Mary and the smell of roses, you'll see that there are lots of accounts of people who having visitations from the Virgin Mary, which are they recognize because they're smelling this unexplained smell of roses, and then this benevolent being is coming and assisting them in their hour of need. So spiritual communication is one. Being forewarned of death is another, you know, knowing when somebody's not well and they're on their way out, or being, you know, some of these people who are into ghost hunting and going to haunted houses, well, you could smell, I can smell that lots of people passed over in this place, for example. Or being a healer, being able to smell diseases, or being able to smell treatments and cures. And of course, if you don't have any education about them and you start having these experiences, you may assume that you are not well or even crazy. And in fact, there are lots of medical disorders where people smell smells that are not there. And so if this starts happening to you, and actually there's a medical term for it, which is phantosmia. So if you were to start having experiences like this, well, there's two possible explanations. One is maybe you do have phantosmia, or maybe your sense of smell is being stimulated by an outside force. And it would be a shame to be diagnosed with something being wrong and get medicated for it, because some people, believe it or not, if they have a smell that keeps hanging around and they can't explain it and it won't go away, there's even been cases of people who have surgery to modify their olfactory bulbs to try and get rid of the smell, or take psychiatric drugs to try and get rid of the smell. Now, of course, there's some real issues that can happen, like if you've had a seizure or a stroke or a head trauma or something like that, then it can trigger these type of experiences too. So if you're at all concerned, you definitely should go and see the doctor. But, if you're wandering around thinking you're crazy, then you may not be crazy at all. What's actually happening is that your physical sense of smell is being stimulated by spirit. And so if this is making you uncomfortable, the best way to make it stop is to develop your other intuitive abilities so that you have another way of communicating with spirit that is a genuine intuitive ability. So, in actual fact, spirit does not have a sense of smell. It is just the physical body that has a sense of smell. So, in order to experience intuitive smelling or clairolfaction, what has to be happening is that your sense of smell is being somewhat inappropriately stimulated by a force outside of yourself. Spirit does have spiritual vision and spiritual hearing and spiritual knowing and spiritual feeling. So if you focus on developing your actual intuitive abilities, then you will be able to tune in to intuitive signals through those channels, and your physical sense of smell won't need to be inappropriately stimulated.
And I'll give you a quick example from my own life. I have a few, but this is a good one. So I used to own a house in East Vancouver, and I sold it and I moved into an apartment in a different part of town. Now, the apartment that I moved into did not have gas. It was just electricity. And I could not get rid of the smell of gas. And I could not understand it. Why am I smelling gas everywhere I go? There's no gas in this apartment. How can it be happening? And it drove me crazy for a few weeks until I received an email from the person who had bought my old house, which did have gas. And it was a rather angry email because she discovered that there was a gas leak, and she thought that I'd known about it and not told her, which wasn't true. And so her anger was directed at me, and I was intuitively picking up on her experience that she was having of smelling gas everywhere. So that was an example of that I had experiencing this. Today's theme was intuitive smelling, but if you don't have anything to say on that subject, it doesn't matter. Don't let that stop you. Phone us up and we'll talk about absolutely anything you like, as long as it has something to do with the intuition, mystical, paranormal or supernatural. And or you can phone up and you can ask us about any question that's going on in your life. So if you've got relationship issues, or you've got some money problems, or there's something going on with your health, or you want to know about your life purpose, or last week I even gave somebody an aura reading live on air. Another week I gave somebody a past life reading. So you never know your luck. You might get something great out of it. So call us. Now, we were talking about Clairalience, weren't we? And I have a friend who is... Oh, here we go. Hello.
Hello, Dr. Lesley. I have Lola on the line for you with a question.
Fantastic. Put her through.
I'll pass her through to you.
Thank you.
Hi, Lula.
Hello, how are you?
Very well. So you have a question?
I do. So my question is about my transition from self-employment back into full-time work. So I'm wanting to get some guidance around really the clarity around next steps moving forward.
So do you have a full-time job, or you're starting to look for one?
I'm applying for.
You're applying for, and you're winding down what you've been doing with your business.
That's right.
Okay. And might I ask for a little bit more information? What's made you decide to make this change?
Well, I think a few things. One is the need to be a part of a team. It can be lonely being on your own.
Yeah, that's true.
Two is the ability to have work that's sustainable so that I can build a portfolio. And three, it's financial.
Right.
You know, the stability of financial, and I'm in a different stage of life. And now my financial stability and planning for my retirement is a higher priority.
Right. And what's the issue? Is the issue your confidence that you can manifest and create this new way of working for yourself? What made you phone in and ask about it?
Well, I think it's a matter of creating the vision that you can work in the confines of a full-time employment and still feel fulfilled.
Right. And might I just ask you what it is that you do?
So I'm a coach.
Right.
And I work with individuals, and now I'm looking to work in a capacity where I'm not working directly with individuals, but working with a company, product, or brand. So we'll no longer be directly working with individuals. We'll be working with a product, putting a product into the marketplace.
Okay, so it's not even that you're going to be training people within the organization. You're actually going to be doing more of a marketing thing.
That's right.
All right, great. Thank you for all that information. And I'll just mention to the listeners, oftentimes people think, well, you're the psychic, so I want you to tell me. But the more information that you give an intuitive reader, the more information they can give back to you. So actually, details is good. So now I'm going to take a look at Lula's question for her. And of course, if you've not listened in before, I'll just explain that the way I do this is I go into a very light trance. So it's an altered state of consciousness. I'm not using any tarot cards or runes or anything like that. I'm just using my intuitive abilities. And so I'm just going to take a moment now just to alter my energy so that I'm in a trance, and I am going to tune in to Lula's energy and take a look at this transition of moving from being self-employed into full-time employment. Well, and the first thing that I want to say is, it's like, well, this is the decision that you've made. This is what you're going to do. Your energy is all lined up with that. It definitely does look like you've left the self-employment behind. And of course, we create our own reality. You create your own reality. So it's not like, am I making the wrong decision or the right decision? This is the decision that you are making, and your energy, because you've set the intention that you're doing this, your energy is lined up with that and with creating that. So that's the first thing. And I'm going to look at anything else that comes up around what might get in, beliefs that might get in your way
of successfully creating this for yourself, and anything else that might come up. So one of the things that's coming up is I'm seeing that you actually, I can see that you're a very good coach, and I can see that you are, that's a really fantastic skill that you have. And one of the things that was coming up, it was like, well, it's almost like, well, you don't want to let go of that because it is part of who you are, being able to teach and mentor people. And so it looks like one of the things that's going on is it almost looks like, I don't know, your energy and the universe's energy are sort of adjusting and to find something that is going to really align well with who you are. And so the way I'm seeing it is, even though you said, well, I'm leaving that behind and I'm moving into this, it looks like there's there might be some kind of middle ground or some kind of corporate position that would enable you to draw on both sets of skills. Now, is your experience of product and brand marketing quite extensive? Would you be applying for senior positions in that?
Yes.
So you might have a team of people working for you, and then the mentoring skills would come. Okay.
That's what I'm setting the intention, that I actually can build a team to leverage all my coaching experience.
Exactly. And that looks, that looks exactly right for you. That looks like that would give you the fulfillment that you're looking for, that you're talking about, because it looks like if you didn't have that, then you'd feel like you were on the hamster wheel again, and it's that one-on-one coaching and training and helping people develop themselves that gives you a sense of service and fulfillment, like you're doing something for other people. So let me see what else I can see around this. And in particular, let me look at... So, here's the thing. Whenever we set the intention for something, we are immediately creating it as spirit. Mm-hmm. We create it as spirit instantaneously. There's no time, there's no space. But the rate at which it will manifest it's kind of proportional to how many blocks we put in between us and that spiritual creation. And so things like whether we believe in ourselves or whether we doubt ourselves, or and so that your spiritual creation is bright and is there. You've set the intention, you've created it, it exists in spiritual reality. And one of the things that I always harp on about this, but is grounding that intention in to your life and to your body. And it looks like that's where you are right now. You're in the process. Okay, now I've made the changes as spirit, and the change is coming. But physical reality always takes a little bit of time to catch up to what we're creating as spirit. And so it looks like that's sort of the phase that you're in. And so you can help with that by really grounding, letting go of the past, letting go of anything that you're hanging on to from the past, so that you're freeing up the space for this new creation to come in and occupy your space. I don't see... I mean, the creation is there with everything that you want. The money, the retirement, sustainable ongoing work. I mean, you've created it. Now it's about you receiving it. It's about you allowing yourself to have it. Some people are fantastic manifestors, but then they fall down when it comes to allowing themselves to have their creations. So I'm going to just take another look at your energy and see if I can detect any beliefs that would be a problem for you, because once you know about those beliefs,
then you can do some work to release them and let them go. So let's take a look and see. Yes, one of the things that I'm seeing you carry with you is, it's like the pain of, and a lot of us have this, it's about the pain of not being good enough, which is a lie. And I'm seeing that where not being good enough comes from with you is, it's like, sometimes being self-employed is like a helter-skelter ride. It's up and down. Sometimes I have clients, sometimes I don't. Sometimes I have clients, sometimes I have to work really hard on marketing myself. And I'm seeing that some of the down times where you've not had enough money coming in, and where you've been working hard to market yourself, and then saying, well, why isn't this happening for me? I'm seeing that you've stored some of that pain around it not happening, and trying really hard, and why isn't it working? And so while you hold those vibrations in your field, they will continue to attract more of the same. So what we want to do is release them. And the way that, a very simple way that you can release them is through grounding. So everyone, if you go to my website, drlesleyphillips.com, there's a free meditation. If you subscribe to the website, you get lots of free stuff. And one of the free meditations will teach you how to ground. And grounding is a way of releasing energy from near the base of your spine to the center of the earth. You can let go of absolutely anything, including past time energy and pain and the stuff that we're talking about. For you, Lula, you can use this grounding technique to help you let go. And I'm seeing the more that you let go of any pain or doubt or past time experiences where you had to struggle, and the more that you pull your energy into the present moment, and the more you believe in yourself and embody. Here's one of the tricks to manifestation. It's so instead of saying, well, one day in the future I will get this, and when I get this everything will be better, I will have enough money, and I will feel better about myself and my life. Instead of that, the trick is feel it now. Feel like I have it now, because it does exist now. It exists as spirit now. And the more that you can vibrate at the frequency of all of the great things that you expect that this will bring you, then the universe cannot fail but to match you up with a matching vibration. Because that's what the universe does. It connects matching frequencies. And so, and then, release anything that would stop you having your creation or recognizing it when it comes to you. Because sometimes we have these sort of very set ideas about how it's got to look and how it's got to be, and that stops us considering a broader range of possibilities, because the universe will just bring you a really good matches that you have to be open to what it brings you. So I hope that that's helped you.
Absolutely.
Great. Well, we're going to go to another break. Anything more that you wish I'd addressed that I didn't?
No, I think you hit everything on the head there, and I am going to continue on and continue and work on grounding and continuing with the intention and receiving. That's it.
Brilliant.
Thank you.
Thanks very much, Lula.
Thank you.
All right, bye. Call in again any time.
Thanks.
Bye. Okay, listeners. So that was Lula with a question about manifestation. We are going to go to a break, and we will be taking more calls after the break. So you've been listening to Unlocking Your Truth with Dr. Lesley, and we are broadcasting live from 101.7 FM on CIVL from the University of the Fraser Valley across the Fraser Valley.
And of course, you can stream us from the website, which is civl.ca. And go on the website and look at all the podcasts, because every show that we have is recorded and is stored there on that website. And we have quite a collection of material by now. Every week it's a different spiritual topic, and I try to educate as much as I can. So I recommend that you do that. All right, we're taking your calls. We've been talking about intuitive abilities. Psychic smelling was the subject tonight. Hold on, let's answer the phone. Hi. Hello.
Hello, Dr. Lesley.
Hello.
I have an email question for you from a lady named Libby. And Libby asks, I would like to know how to tap into my spiritual and intuitive knowledge. And that's, again, Libby.
Great.
Okie dokie.
Thank you. Okay. So, question from Libby. She wants to know how to tap into her intuitive and spiritual knowledge. So I am going to take a little look at Libby and her energy. And before I do, I'll just mention that one of the things I love to do is help people with exactly this. Because everybody is different. Everybody has a unique profile of intuitive abilities, and it is not the same for everybody. Do you remember at the beginning of the show I said that there were 25 different intuitive abilities? And you, Libby, and everyone else has a unique configuration of those abilities that are tailor-made to support you in your life purpose. So I'm going to tune into her energy and have a look at what one or two of her most prevalent intuitive abilities are, and what's in her way, or how can she best tap into it. So I'm just going to do my thing here, go into a trance and tune into her energy. So bear with me while I do that. I just go into an altered state of consciousness that helps me tune out the more physical frequencies and tune in to the more spiritual frequencies. Okay, so I'm just taking a look at Libby's energy right now, and I'm going to see what intuitive ability lights up first. And actually, the area of your energy field that's lighting up to look at Libby, apologize for that, is your throat. And there's an energy center in the throat that relates to communication. And there are actually 5 different intuitive abilities that energy center governs. One of them is the inner voice. Another one is called clairaudience, spiritual hearing. And another one is pragmatic or practical intuition. And then we have broad and narrow band telepathy as well. So let me see which of those 5 things that I mentioned, whether we're wanting to look at your inner voice, your clairaudience for sure is lighting up. And I'll just check out the... So clairaudience is lighting up as being one of your abilities, and I'm seeing that looks to me when you meditate and when you focus on receiving your intuitive knowledge, you're kind of ignoring that one, and that's why it's coming up. I'm seeing that you're aware of your knowingness, and to some degree you're aware of your clairvoyance. And it looks to me like when you meditate, you're mostly wanting to tune in to your knowing. But knowing about the fact that you have this other ability that has the potential to be quite strong might help you better tap in to your spiritual and intuitive knowledge. And I'm just going to take a look at, because of course I usually like to look at the inner voice and the clairaudience together, because the inner voice is your higher self communicating with you, the body personality, whereas the clairaudience is your ability to listen to others speaking to you as spirit. So the inner voice is you communicating with yourself, and the clairaudience is others. And when I look at both of them, what I'm seeing is that you have a strong inner voice as well. And that's important, because you are the best source of your own spiritual information. At the same time, I'm seeing that the clairaudience is a channel for you to communicate with your guides. And of course, whenever we work with guides, it's important to stay senior and be in charge of the relationship, just like you, and have boundaries, just like you would with any friend or any person that you were working with. So what I'm seeing is that your intention is to have your inner voice and your clairaudience working in parallel with one another. And it looks like that there are some very high frequency beings. It feels to me like the angelic realm, because they're very high frequency beings who are in alignment with working together with you and assisting you in this desire to develop your spiritual and your intuitive knowledge. And one of the ways that they are attempting and wanting to communicate with you is through this clairaudient channel, because I'm seeing that whether you realize it or not, it's something that you're quite capable of. So then how do you tap in to your inner voice and to your clairaudience? Well, one of the things is, like I always say, ground, because that brings you into your body, and center, because that gives you neutrality. On my website you can find out how to do both of those things. And then the other thing is to clear out any blocks, particularly in the throat area. And because we will, as I was talking to Lula earlier, our present time experiences often get coloured by our past time experiences. So if you were told when you were a kid, just listen to me and what I say and do what I say and you'll be fine, you may have tuned out some of the other incoming signals, including your own higher self and your guides who are wanting to help you and look after you. So cleaning out that throat, that energy center in the throat, would be a really great start. And there are lots of ways you can do that. But even if the only thing that you know how to do is ground, you can use the grounding as a channel to release the blocks in that throat center. So that's where I would start. I would start by, and educate yourself, read a little bit. There's some articles in my blog as well about this energy center and these abilities, so go and check those out. So we're at the end of the show. I don't have time to take another call, unfortunately. We'll be back next Tuesday. We are here every Tuesday at 7 o'clock to 8 o'clock on CIVL on 101.7 FM. And if you've enjoyed the show, go onto the CIVL website and check out all of the podcasts, because there's a fair number of shows now and you can listen to them all. We have Jazz Plus coming up shortly with Darren Ollinger, and so that should be great. And once again,
it has been Unlocking Your Truth with Dr. Lesley, broadcasting on CIVL on 101.7 FM from the University of the Fraser Valley. And write to me during the week if you have any questions that you want to be read out on the show. And once again, the email address is info@drlesleyphillips.com, and you can also write to me and request what subject I'm going to talk about, because I'd be happy to talk about anything that you wanted. And I almost forgot, but next week we have a very special guest coming on. We have Greg Smith, and he is the CEO of a company called Thinkific. And this is an online facility that helps you to teach courses online. And I think it's a fabulous tool. I know a lot of the listeners out there, you know, we all have something to teach and we all have something to say. And, you know, especially for people in the alternative and healing arts, it's often difficult to reach a big enough audience to make a living. You know, referring back to Lula's question earlier, she's a coach. Well, you know, I think one of the ways that you can reach a broader audience with your alternative or spiritual business is to put your teachings online. And so Greg Smith is going to join us next Tuesday, and he is going to tell us all about that, how easy it is to do that. So if you have a message to give to the world and you're at all interested in that, tune in next week, and because that's what we're going to talk about. And you can still phone in with questions, and especially if you've got a spiritual business, that would be a good week to call us.
Thank you for joining us. You've been listening to another Unlocking Your Truth podcast by Dr. Lesley Phillips. For more information, go to our website at drlesleyphillips.com. That's drlesleyphillips.com, where you can ask questions or send her an email, and there's many free gifts on there for you as well. Come back again.